Hey everybody, we're going to be reading the book of John, chapter 18, verse 15 through 27 today. And Simon Peter followed Jesus, and so did the other disciple. Now that disciple was known to the high priest, and went with Jesus into the courtyard of the high priest. But Peter stood at the door outside. Then the other disciple, who was known to the high priest, went out and spoke to her who kept the door, and brought Peter in. Then the servant girl who kept the door said to Peter, "Are you not also one of this man's disciples? Are you?" He said, "I am not." Now the servants and officers who had made a fire of coals stood there, for it was cold, and they warmed themselves. And Peter stood with them and warmed himself. The high priest then asked Jesus about his disciples and his doctrine. And Jesus answered him, "I spoke openly to the world. I always taught in the synagogues and in the temple, where the Jews always met, and in secret I've said nothing. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me and what I've said to them. Indeed, they know what I've said." And when he had said these things, one of the officers who stood by struck Jesus with the palm of his hand, saying, "Do you answer the high priest like that?" And Jesus answered him, "If I have spoken evil, bear witness of this evil. But if well, why do you strike me?" Then Ananias sent him bound to Caiaphas the high priest. Now Simon Peter stood and warmed himself, and therefore they said to him, "You are not also one of his disciples, are you?" He denied it and said, "I am not." And one of the servants of the high priest, a relative of him whose ear Peter cut off, said, "Did I not see you in the garden with him?" Peter then denied again, and immediately the rooster crowed. We hope to be able to worship with you this Sunday in the celebration of our risen Savior. Happy Easter.